Hi, welcome to week 2, lecture 1. The first lecture this week is about water and water rights, water presence throughout the world. Of the world, 95% of the world's water is held in the oceans, which only leaves 5% fresh water for the rest of us to have. Now, of this, 3% is held in glaciers, ice caps, and continental ice sheets. So that only leaves 2% of the world's water resources available for us to use as humans. One of the things that we're going to look at is the fact that water and water tables in aquifers, the layers under the ground where the water is stored, and then we can drill a water well and we can retrieve the water. There are two types. The first one is what is called a fossil aquifer. And what happened was, in the past, there were layers that were being deposited, and one layer that was deposited was something with a large grain size like a sandstone or a cobblestone. And if you think of a cup of ice, you have water that can come in and around the ice so that it can flow freely. Well, that's the same thing that the water between the sand grains or the gravel grains can. Well, in the past, a layer of this has been laid down, this gravel and sand, and then other layers were put over top of it. This water aquifer is wholly contained. It contains fossil water or older water. And if you come in, Saudi Arabia, their largest aquifer is a fossil aquifer. If they came in and they drilled it, there is no way to recharge this. Fossil aquifers, when you have taken all the water out, that's all the water there is. The second type of aquifer is one that is shallower, and it is the same consistency where you have sand or grainstones or cobbles, and the water is between them. So if we put wells into an aquifer from the surface, then we can withdraw the water from there. Now, one of the things that happens is these aquifers can be recharged. As rain comes down and hits the Earth's surface, it will eventually filter down and it will be in the aquifer and it will replenish it. One of the problems that we have right now is the fact that we are withdrawing water about 30% faster than the aquifers can be replenished with water. So this, as far as drinking, irrigation, crop growth, production of materials, this is a source that is sustainable, but at the rate that we are currently using it is unsustainable. Now, some of the items that we're going to look at are, one of the biggest factors is irrigation. Crops around the world, of course, all rely on water. And if you look at places in Africa where they don't have efficient irrigation systems set up, then 50% of the water that they're using is going to be evaporated, or it's going to run off, and it's not going to go into the fields that they've grown, and after that it's not going to be able to have an aquifer that's being recharged. If we look at dams, the Tigris and the Euphrates that flow into Iraq from Turkey, that area used to be called the Fertile Crescent because it's where a lot of the crops from the region were grown. Well, now Turkey has a dam upstream from it before the rivers can flow into Iraq, and the waters are basically dried up there. They're just a trickle. So you've taken something that was an area where you had arable land and you have been growing crops historically, and they're no longer able to have the water supply unless they want to drill for aquifers, withdraw that from the ground, and then be able to water their crops. So the biggest thing is that we as humans rely on water, or we'll die, and we don't want to die. So finding a way to take water and have it as a sustainable resource, one that we're going to be able to find ways to economize our use, finding ways that we're going to be able to extract it in different methods. This water is the most valuable resource on Earth, and we're going to see in this class that there are areas where water is not readily available anymore, such as Saudi Arabia, also Israel, where they've drained so much of their water that they have to import 95% of their crops at this point. And we'll go into about businesses and how that actually affects entire countries, so that if you're expecting to bring all of your wheat in, but there's a bad wheat year, then you're going to have a very severe economic situation. The last thing that I want to talk about are what are called water markets. And I'm going to use the city of Los Angeles as an example. The city of Los Angeles does not have enough groundwater to support all of its citizens, all of its businesses. So what it has done is it has gone north in California and it has bought water rights. There's a lake called Mono Lake, and Los Angeles bought the water rights to this lake in the 60s. And over time, it is now basically dried up. So because of that, they're now going to farmers in Central California, and they are buying the water rights to their land. And it pays more money to the farmers to buy the water rights to the land so that Los Angeles can then extract it and ship it down than it does to produce a crop with that water. So they're essentially making money. But then on the other hand, what's going to happen to those croplands as a result 10 or 15 years from now? So those are some of the items that we're going to look at regarding water use. We're going to do some assignments with covering water scarcity, and hopefully by putting maps and areas together and looking at the water resources that are available there and the water resources that will be available there in the future, and not only how it affects people's lives, but how it also affects companies who are in that area and working. Hopefully we'll be able to look at it from a business perspective and from a social and environmental perspective to see what can be done so that we can use this resource sustainably.